all in one place. Xfinity. Imagine that.
When businesses thrive, communities score. That's why Bank of America is the official bank of FIFA World Cup here in the Bay Area. And our more than 110 local business specialists are ready to help your business win. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America, official bank of FIFA World Cup 2026. Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
Get ready for Jim Gaffigan and his Everything is Wonderful tour on June 13th at the Masonic in San Francisco. Buy your tickets at livenation.com. And for a chance to win tickets, courtesy of Live Nation, visit 957thegame.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Yes, it is. Welcome into Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you live from Chase Center. As always, Warriors Live presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage, brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. Well, considering a Niner game is just about to end or just ended, apologies, I don't have the game up in front of me here inside of Chase Center. You're used to hearing my voice here on 95.7 The Game, except normally it's on overtime to react to a Niner game, win or loss. Today, of course, a loss for the Niners as they get blown out by the Rams. But what we have for you tonight is not overtime because we've got Warriors basketball to get ready for, and we figured we might as well take this opportunity right when the Niner game ends to do a little bit of an extended Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. So let's just forget what happened down at Levi's and let's focus on what's coming up here tonight at Chase Center. Again, welcome in. Mark Randy with you live here on 95.7 The Game as we get ready for Warriors and Pacers. The Warriors, they desperately need a win. They have lost 4 of their last 5 games. They began the year 4-1. They're now 500 at 5-5, which means they've gone 1-4 in their last 5, including a loss to this very Pacers team 8 days ago in Indiana last Saturday, a game in which the Warriors were up by 11 with 6 minutes left. They let that lead slip away, and that's part of the reason why tonight is so important because the Warriors felt like they had a win that they gave away over the weekend. Kind of similar to what happened the previous Thursday in Milwaukee, right before that Indiana game. The most recent losses for the Warriors in Sacramento on Wednesday and then in Denver on Friday. Those are definitely more understandable because Steph Curry missed both games. Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler also did not play versus the Kings. But those results make what happened in Milwaukee and specifically in Indiana hurt 10 times more. And tonight, suddenly, the 11th game of the season becomes a must-have for the Warriors, because not only are you trying to get back to above 500, Warriors currently sitting at 5-5, but you've got a 6-game road trip coming up right after this. No rest for the weary for the Warriors. They are just flying all over the country right now. They already haven't really been able to stay in any one city in a really long time. Think back to Tuesday, October 28th versus the Clippers at home. Ever since then, the Warriors have had a game in one location and then flown somewhere else for their next game. They were home versus the Clippers. The next day, they fly to Milwaukee. The next day, they fly to Indiana. Then they fly back home, get a couple of days off, but still, then play Phoenix, then drive to Sacramento. Not nearly as bad as a flight, but still, drive to Sacramento. Then they drive back home, and then they fly to Denver. Now they fly back home. And guess what? This is going to continue because you're at home for just one game today, much like the Phoenix Suns home game for the Warriors. Last week, you were on the road in Milwaukee and Indiana, home for one, then in Sacramento, then in Denver. You return home now for these Pacers, then you go on the road for your longest road trip of the season to this point at Oklahoma City on Tuesday. Back-to-back games at San Antonio, not on back-to-back days, but consecutive games on the schedule next Wednesday and Friday. One of those, by the way, is an NBA Cup game. The Warriors might not be sitting very pretty in the NBA Cup right now, so if you care about the Cup, this might not be the Warriors' year. After those 2 games in San Antonio, they're in New Orleans, then in Orlando, then in Miami, then they return home, and they get a nice homestand going, and it is a 5-game homestand after that. But really before that, the Warriors are in one city, one night, playing a game, then traveling. The only exception is they do play 2 games over the course of 3 days in San Antonio, kind of a mini baseball series in the middle of this Warriors road trip. But the point is, the Warriors, they got to be exhausted right now physically from all the travel, and they need to take advantage of a down opponent like Indiana tonight, which is exactly what they did not do on Saturday versus the Pacers. They lost that game again. The Warriors had that game. They were leading by 11 with 6 minutes left. They ultimately lose that game 114 to 109. That was a very injured Pacers team. And by the way, we can say the same exact thing about this Pacers team. And in fact, they're even more injured this time around. With that in mind, let's get to our injury report, which as always is brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. We begin with the Warriors. I was listening in to Steve Kerr talking pregame. This was just about a half hour ago or so, a little bit more than that, maybe 40 minutes ago or so here inside of Chase Center. And, of course, the first question is, what's the update on Steph Curry? We did get the news about 15 minutes before Steve Kerr took the podium to address the media pregame that Steph Curry will not play today. He's going to miss his 3rd consecutive game dealing with an illness. Missed Wednesday in Sacramento, missed Friday in Denver. Both of those were losses, so the Warriors now 0-2 without Steph this year. They're 5-3 with him. Steve Kerr did have this to say, though, about Steph Curry, which is, I think, a positive development. Of course, I think a lot of us out there were probably hoping that Steph Curry would be good enough to play, would feel well enough to play today. That is not the case, but given that he is out tonight, I think the Warriors got the next best update that they could possibly have gotten. This was what Steve Kerr said pregame today, and I quote, this is on Steph Curry's illness. He's going to get a workout in tonight and tomorrow and go on the trip. We're hoping he's able to play in Oklahoma City. That's the Warriors' next game on Tuesday. He's feeling better, but he hasn't done much of anything, so we didn't want to throw him out there tonight. So Steve said Steph Curry is feeling better with that illness. Minor cold is what the Warriors are calling it. It felt like maybe in a pinch he could have played today, but they're playing it safe, and because he hasn't really done much of anything in terms of physical activity since he went down, and the last game that he played was that Phoenix game last Tuesday, so we're talking about 5 days ago, the last time that he played. The Warriors don't feel comfortable putting him out there without really any kind of physical activity in those 5 days. So the Warriors are going to work him out tonight. They're going to work him out in some fashion tomorrow morning before they board the plane, and assuming everything doesn't just go haywire, he will be boarding that plane and he will travel with the Warriors to Oklahoma City with the intent of playing. The Warriors are hopeful. We don't know for sure, of course. They're going to evaluate him after those workouts tonight and tomorrow, but it does seem like there's a pretty good chance that Steph Curry is ready again on Tuesday in Oklahoma City versus the Thunder, and the Warriors will desperately need him on this road trip, because not only is it just the road trip that we're talking about, which is always tough, but it's the opponents. Oklahoma City on Tuesday, then San Antonio Wednesday, and San Antonio again Friday. If you haven't been watching a lot of other basketball around the NBA, San Antonio is one of the best stories in the league so far this season. Maybe not incredibly surprising given given Victor Wembanyama and all of that, but they're having a really, really good start to the season. San Antonio is. OKC is 9-1. San Antonio is 7-2. Those are the two top records in the Western Conference. Denver is also 7-2, so they're sitting there tied with San Antonio. And in fact, those are tied for the second best record in the entire NBA, because the best record in the East belongs to the Detroit Pistons at 7-2. So San Antonio is a really, really good basketball team, and that means after tonight, the Warriors' next 3 games are against two of the 2 best teams in the NBA, and record-wise, the 2 best teams in the NBA in OKC and San Antonio. Those 2 teams who the Warriors play over their next 3 games, right? The next 3 games are against either OKC or San Antonio. Those 2 teams combined are 16-3. What does that mean? It just means tonight is really, really important. Okay, so let's continue with our injury report. No Steph Curry tonight, but signs are pointing towards him being ready on Tuesday in Oklahoma City. Al Horford, just as I was walking my way up here to get ready for Warriors Live, I did see Al Horford head out to the court, I would presume, to get a pregame workout in. I was not able to see him get that work in on the court, but I saw him leave the locker room, head down the tunnel, and head to the Chase Center floor. I would imagine he might be getting some work in right now, and the Warriors quickly or soon will be making a decision on Al Horford as recently as when Steve Kerr talked about 45 minutes ago, a little less than that. They had not decided yet. Steve Kerr said, quote, "Don't know yet if Al Horford is going to play. He's currently questionable with a left foot strain, so we shall see. I'll keep my eyes open for any updates, and if you guys do hear them, let me know, of course, on the YouTube chat or on the text line, and I'll get it out there. But as of right now, there is no decision on Al Horford, as, again, what Steve Kerr said was we don't know yet if he's going to play. The only other Warrior on the injury report today is DeAnthony Melton. He's still out, of course, with that knee. He's recovering from ACL surgery from last November. Warriors are expected to update him again in about a week and a half, so stay tuned for that. Nothing new on DeAnthony Melton. Of course, he's out today. Okay, that's the relatively straightforward Warriors injury report. No Steph, game 10 decision for Al Horford, and no DeAnthony Melton. What about the Pacers? Let me take a deep breath here. Okay, because this is a really, really long injury report, very similar to what it was last Saturday when the Warriors were in Indiana versus the Pacers. The carryovers from that game to this game. Tyrese Halliburton, of course, not playing. He's out for the season, suffering that torn Achilles in Game 7 of the NBA Finals back in June. Benedict Mathurin, young guard from Arizona, he is out. Pacers are saying he's week to week. He played 2 games this year, hasn't played since. TJ McConnell, left hamstring strain, he's still out. He has not yet played this season. Obi Toppin is out and likely out for a long time, until February, I believe, is the expectation for Obi Toppin. Those 4 guys, Halliburton, Mathurin, McConnell, and Toppin, they also did not play versus the Warriors last Saturday. They're still not playing today. One player who missed last weekend's game versus the Warriors but is back now is Andrew Nembhard. He's back and ready to go, so the Warriors will be facing off against Nembhard today, but that's not the end of the injury report. In addition to those 4 that missed last week and are also missing today's game, they're also down 4 more players, and 4 more important players, specifically three pretty important players. Pascal Siakam is out because the Pacers are on a back-to-back. They played last night in Denver and lost 117-100. So they're on a back-to-back, the Pacers are, and they're on a tough back-to-back in altitude in Denver, and now here in San Francisco versus the Warriors. As a result, Pascal Siakam is out, and he is resting in this game. He's officially listed on the injury report as out due to rest. They are resting Pascal Siakam, and they're not putting in some fake injury to make it seem like he's actually hurt. No, they're just saying they're resting Pascal Siakam on that back-to-back. Aaron Nesmith with a right forearm contusion is also out. Quentin Jackson with a right hamstring strain is also out, and Johnny Furphy with a left ankle sprain is also out. Those four players all played versus the Warriors last Saturday when the Warriors were in Indiana versus the Pacers, and again, they blew that 11-point lead with 6 minutes left. And those four were really, really, really important pieces. Specifically, three of them were really, really important pieces in that Pacers win. Pascal Siakam, last Saturday versus the Warriors, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He played 38 minutes. Aaron Nesmith, who took over at times from downtown in that game, 31 points, 5 made threes, 6 rebounds, and played 35 minutes. He was one of the primary ball handlers, only turned the ball over once. What about Quentin Jackson? Don't know a ton about him, although we were introduced to him last Saturday, and he had a career game. He played 31 minutes, scored 25 points, had 6 rebounds and 10 assists, and as the other primary ball handler for the Pacers, did not turn the ball over at all in 31 minutes played. Was 10 for 16 from the field, 3 for 4 from downtown. He kind of iced the game with a couple of jumpers late in that one. All three of those guys are now out. And then, oh, by the way, Johnny Furphy, young guy off the bench for Indiana, also is out. He played 23 minutes, didn't have a gigantic impact for Indiana last week versus this same Warrior team, but scored 5 points, got on the glass a little bit. He's also out. So if we thought that last weekend on Saturday in Indiana was an embarrassing Warrior loss versus this Pacer team, what would today be? Because the Pacers, when you look up and down their roster, one of the only, consistent, you ask yourself coming into the season, who do we think are going to be consistent contributors for the Pacers? What do we think? What are the expectations here? Of players that are available tonight, probably the only one that you would point to is Andrew Nembhard. That's just about it. There's not a lot of other guys that you would look at and say, I expect you to contribute in a positive way every single game based on who's available tonight. So this is a game the Warriors desperately need, and they absolutely should. It does not matter that Steph Curry is out. This Warrior team is 10 times more talented than this current Indiana team based on who's available tonight, and as a result, Vegas feels that way as well. The Warriors are 12.5-point favorites to win this game today. Now, we shall see. They were also big favorites in Indiana. Steph was available in that one, but so was Pascal Siakam, so was Aaron Nesmith, and so was Quentin Jackson. They're all out today. In addition, no Halliburton, no Mathurin, no McConnell, no Toppin, no Furphy. This is a skeleton crew for the Pacers on the back end of a back-to-back, and one of the toughest back-to-backs imaginable in the NBA in Denver and then in San Francisco. This is one where the Warriors, if they lose, there is absolutely no excuse in this one. By the way, before I officially close the books on our injury report, and this might set the record for the longest injury report on record here on Warriors Live, I do have one last update for you, and this comes from the Warriors side of things. I told you earlier that when Steve Kerr was talking about 45 minutes ago, when asked about Al Horford's status, he said, quote, I don't know yet if Al Horford is going to play. Well, we have an update. Al Horford is playing. I mentioned I saw him run out onto the court to get some work in pregame. He tested his foot out. He is good to go. He is active. He is playing. He was questionable after missing last game with foot soreness, but he is in and good to go for the Warriors tonight. So the only Warriors missing action today are Steph Curry and DeAnthony Melton. Everybody else is available for the Warriors in this one. Okay, and that puts a bow on one of the longest injury reports that I can remember ever doing here on Warriors Live. Warriors Live, as always, is presented by Xfinity. Your home court advantage brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. One of the other things that Steve Kerr talked about pregame is pretty straightforward given what has happened in the last 5 games for the Warriors. He said as simply as he possibly could, and I quote, "Tonight it's important to play with a lot of energy. That's what's been lacking for the Warriors. It's been lackadaisical. It's been lazy. It's been kind of going through the motions. It's just standing still on offense. It's slow reactions and recoveries on defense. It's not closing out on shooters well. It's just allowing guys to drive right past you. Just in general, the energy has been pretty darn low, and not just from the veterans. Like, you know, we can point fingers at Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green and say, well, you haven't been holding up your end of the bargain in the last couple of games. They would probably agree with you. But this is also on your youngsters, players like Brandon Pajemski and Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody to step it up. And it's what was happening specifically, I think, on Friday versus Denver, but also over the last handful of games for the Warriors. How about this from Steve Kerr? And Cam, get ready in the back. I want you to play some sound for me. Steve Kerr, after Friday's game versus the Nuggets, he's talking about Moody, Kuminga, and Pajemski and the lack of fight from those guys. Here is Steve Kerr, again, talking about the Warriors' youngster and maybe the lack of effort that he saw from those 3.
We just have to pound it into these guys' brains over and over again, our whole team, not just the young guys, but everybody, that if we keep turning the ball over like we are right now, we're in trouble. But if we take care of it like we did last year after we got Jimmy Butler, and if we defend without fouling like we did last year when we got Jimmy Butler, then we're going to be really good, 23-7 down the stretch last year. And that's the only thing that changed, honestly, was Jimmy controlled the game because he would take care of the ball and he would get fouled, and we were the ones going to the foul line instead of our opponents. So that's what it comes down to for this team, and we have to get there. We really believe we can get there.
All right, that's Steve Kerr. I believe that was actually with Willard and Dibbs last Friday. It's still good sound, but I do want to track down that right piece of sound, Cam. Just shoot me a text or let me know when you got it. But I mean, so much of what has happened for the Warriors of late, I mean, some of it, of course, is just missing shots and opponents catching fire, and that's going to happen, right? Like, it's going to happen where just the way that the ball bounces a certain night, it's not your night. And over the course of 82 games, that will happen every once in a while. But that's not what has been ailing the Warriors of late. Now, Friday in Denver, you can say, well, Denver is just a really good basketball team. The shots they were making, pretty impressive. And when they lock in defensively, they're a tough nut to crack. And there's no doubt that that's all true. Denver, I think, is one of the best teams in the NBA. But the Warriors made it far too easy on them. And it's offensively and it's defensively. And when you give your group of youngsters the opportunity to be like the guy in a game, I think you expect, maybe not necessarily, it might not be fair to say we expect, those youngsters to carry the day and lead you to a win and put up 25 points each and shoot the ball really well and all of that. But you expect more energy and more effort and at least the attempt to do that. But we will see. Okay, let's get back to that Steve Kerr sound, because this is post-game on Friday night in Denver after the Warriors lost to the Nuggets in blowout fashion. They were not even close. They had a little run early in the second quarter, a 10-0 run to get back within 1. The rest of the game was a complete and total blowout in favor of the Denver Nuggets. And here's Steve Kerr talking about Moody, Kuminga, and Pajemski, and the lack of fire from that group of 3 who, going into the game, everyone felt was so incredibly important and valuable, given that you're down Steph Curry on the road versus a very good opponent. Those 3 were going to have to be really good. Here's what Steve Kerr said about them.
The game didn't go their way, but there has to be, some fire in the belly to get out of a tough night. It's tough as a young player when things aren't going your way and game's not going your way. It's easy to kind of get down. And You can't do that in this league. You have to fight and compete every second, and it didn't feel like we did that tonight.
All right, that's Steve Kerr. Yeah, so that's a direct message to those youngsters. Obviously, results are what matter in this business and in this league. You got to win games. You got to put up points. You got to play good defense. But oftentimes, at least in individual assessment, what matters more at times is the process and not necessarily the results, the effort that you put in. A coach would much rather have a bad performance statistic-wise, but you feel good about the process and you feel like the statistics are going to eventually come along because the effort, the process is right. However, if you just have a game where a player wasn't hustling, was doing a lot of things wrong, but they just happened to be on a heater and they made every shot that they took, what would a coach rather have on a consistent basis? They'd rather have the player that performed maybe at times a little more up and down, but that effort was always there because you're going to bank on that effort leading to positive results more often than not, and that's where the Warriors have run into some problems of late. I also think this is worth bringing up and discussing as well, because for a lot of these guys, specifically Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga, and I think this is more specifically about Jonathan Kuminga, what he's being asked to do now, he's never done before. And I'm not just saying on nights where Steph is out, be potentially the go-to guy on offense, but even when Steph is in, you're an entrenched starter, and JK, if the Warriors are going to win basketball games, you're going to have to score upwards of 16, 18 points a night, grab 8 rebounds, dish out 4 assists, and take care of the ball and play really good defense on the other end. Okay, ready? Break. Like, that's not an easy thing to do either. And when Steph's out, then it's, okay, Kuminga, even further adjustment, we need you to get to 24 points tonight for us to have a chance, or whatever the number is as the calculus breaks down. Not easy to change your role around, but even Kuminga's role when everybody's healthy is much more challenging than it's ever been for him. And Steve Kerr, Draymond Green said something very, very, I think, appropriate about this. This is Jonathan Kuminga. The subject is Jonathan Kuminga. The quote is from Draymond Green post-game Friday in Denver, talking about Kuminga and the last couple of games, turning the ball over a little bit more, maybe not quite as active on defense. And here's what Draymond Green said, and I quote, "This is the first time JK has played this amount of minutes. Our schedule, it's been complete bleep. And you're playing the amount of minutes you're playing, you're being relied on night in and night out, and so you're playing more games in the amount of days that you've ever played. So it's a whirlwind. I'm sure his head's spinning. But A, this is what he wanted, and B, he's cut out for it." And that end there, I think, is very, very appropriate from Draymond Green. No one is denying that this is not easy and that it is not a challenge, but this is also what Jonathan Kuminga asked for and what he was asking for all offseason long in the form of a contract and in the form of a consistent, important role on this team. He has that role on this team now. He's an entrenched starter, and now he has to kind of fight through a little mini slump. I think slump is the wrong word, but just a little struggle here through the last handful of games. 11 turnovers for JK in his last 3 games. We'll see how he bounces back tonight. Obviously, if he comes out, scores 26, goes 11 of 15 from the field, gets to the line 8 times and makes 7 of the 8, like, that's great. That's amazing, and Steve Kerr would be happy, and I guarantee if that happens, the Warriors win this game tonight. But I think as we just we zoom out a little bit and we look at this from a wider lens, it's just more simply, all right, what was the energy? What does the eye test show us? Was this guy flying around all game long? That's, I think, what Steve Kerr's looking for today. Again, it's what he said pregame. Quote, "Tonight it's important to play with a lot of energy." That's going to be the challenge for the Warriors today. And I'm focusing on Jonathan Kuminga because I think of the group of 3, most Warrior fans would agree he probably has the highest talent level, and as a result, maybe has the biggest ability to impact a game positively, like tonight for the Warriors. But this also goes for Moses Moody and for Brandon Podziemski as well. I think the Warriors are really running into issues offensively where they don't have anybody that can attack an opponent off the dribble. Podziemski's not that guy. Moses Moody's not that guy. Kuminga can do it at times one-on-one, and in the fast break, he absolutely can do it. Like, he can Euro step. He can just use his athleticism to get around somebody. But in the half court, Kuminga has a hard time driving because he goes into the teeth of the defense. A double team comes, the ball gets knocked away seemingly more often than it doesn't. So this is a team without Steph that has to work really hard for their buckets because they don't have anybody that can consistently beat opponents off the dribble, creating that disadvantage that then results in either an open three off a drive and dish or, a nice bounce pass in the paint to a cutting Kuminga for a lay-in. You have to really work hard as a team to get buckets without Steph Curry. That's the challenge, which means the Warriors just have to absolutely out-hustle everybody in order to consistently win basketball games. So we will see how it goes tonight, but maybe more important than any singular stat line, it's just what's the energy level? Are the Warriors getting more deflections? Are they taking care of the ball better? And part of that is also forcing turnovers on the other side of the court. All those hustle stats, I think, are going to be really, really important for the Warriors in this one. All right, this is Warriors Live presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. Speaking of turnovers, I want to get into this a little bit here on our Take It to the Bank prediction brought to you by Fremont Bank, here for you, here for good. I think whenever the Warriors go through some of these issues taking care of the basketball, they have kind of an in-house solution, and that in-house solution is just get the ball to Jimmy Butler and trust him to take care of the ball, to get his teammates in the right places, and for the Warriors offense to really run through him. I don't know why that really wasn't happening in Denver. The Warriors got blown out by the Nuggets last time out, and it felt like Jimmy Butler wasn't really involved that much offensively. Some of that is simply, Jimmy Butler has to demand the ball, and when he has the ball, be aggressive and get to the hoop and get shots up. But some of this is also, I think, kind of, the game plan. And Steve Kerr and the Warriors have to say, you know what, down Steph Curry, as I was talking about, some challenges dribbling the ball in terms of getting into the paint and creating advantages. What's our best way to get good looks consistently? I think it's put the ball in the hands of Jimmy Butler a lot more often. And with that, as I feel should be the Warriors' strategy tonight, my Take It to the Bank prediction, again brought to you by Fremont Bank, here for you, here for good, is over 5.5 assists for Jimmy Butler today. Again, no Steph Curry. That means the ball is going to be in Jimmy Butler's hands a whole lot more. Just run the offense through him, calm things down, take care of the ball. And again, when you want to limit turnovers, just give the ball to Jimmy Butler and you can go from there. So over 5.5 assists for Jimmy Butler today. That's my Take It to the Bank prediction. I think the Warriors have a pretty good chance of winning this basketball game if that goes over. If Jimmy Butler goes over 5.5 assists, we shall see. All right, Warriors Live presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. We've got a couple more minutes left with you here. In fact, about a minute and a half left here on Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you live from Chase Center as we get ready for Warriors and Pacers. The Pacers only have one win this year. Their only win is versus the Warriors. They've lost to OKC, to Memphis, to Minnesota, to Dallas, to Atlanta, to Milwaukee, to Brooklyn, to Denver. Their only win is versus these Warriors. The Warriors trying to get a little bit of revenge. And oh, by the way, the Pacers are 6-0 all-time at Chase Center. They are the only team in the NBA to have never lost at Chase. The only team with a perfect record at Chase Center, these Indiana Pacers. The Warriors can hand the Pacers their first ever loss at Chase here today. The Pacers have also dominated this matchup of late. They've won 4 straight versus the Warriors and 7 of the last 8, and they have never lost here at Chase. We'll see if that changes here today. Okay, this has been Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game, presented by Xfinity, your home court advantage, brought to you by Xfinity. Watch all your favorite teams all in one place. Xfinity, imagine that. Tim Roy, Tom Tolbert standing by to get you ready for Warriors and Pacers. I'll be back for Warriors wrap-up in a couple of hours right after the game, right here on 95.7 The Game.
A lot of Bay Area banking customers are faced with a choice. Which financial institution best fits what they're looking for? It might make sense to consider a bank's history. Take Fremont Bank. For 60 years, we've provided stability and consistency with an emphasis on relationships. We've grown one customer at a time, not through mergers